Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. And by the way, I don't know if I showed you a quasi. I'm wearing my, in your honor, I'm wearing my Rutgers sweatshirt. What a very special for me, having sat in the rack for the past 25 years as a major Rutgers basketball fan, men's and women's, by the way, I'm both. So what's special about this is it's 10 days before Christmas. And I guess it's like a Christmas gift for me to sit down and spend some time with AKWASI YEBOAH, who played for Rutgers 2 years ago. And it's really special because AKWASI and I, we met. We were just talking before we went on air. AKWASI and I, and by the way, AKWASI's in Lyon, France right now. And he plays for SaintChamond in the French Professional Basketball League. And he's been so gracious to sit down and spend some time with me. And we're going to do kind of a different kind of an interview and discuss things that are really kind of unique and different. But AKWASI and I met 2 years ago, almost to the day, actually. I was at a core club meeting and before the pandemic, and Coach Peichel was there, and AKWASI was the team captain, and he was there. When it was all over, because I'm a groupie, I asked AKWASI if I could have a picture with him. So he was very gracious. We took a picture together, and then I threw it up. And this is great. I threw it up on social media, especially LinkedIn, because I've got 14,000 Rutgers people on LinkedIn in my network. And then a couple of days later, I looked. There was like 4,000 or 5,000 views of the picture of me and AKWASI. And then a few days later, there was a game, and I sit near the court, and I was taking pictures of you guys warming up, AKWASI, and you came over to me. And it's funny, I think I told you this. We were on camera, the TV camera.
Yes, you sent me the video.
I said, yeah, we were. Yeah, you came over to say hello, and I mentioned to you that picture got thousands of views. And then you had asked, well, can we talk about social media and networking? And we then began a great gig at Henry's Diner talking about LinkedIn and networking and the stuff I learned. And I did teach at Rutgers a couple years ago. So, but anyway, that began a great friendship. And so here we are, and that's how we met. I wanted to try to make this a little bit different, and we're going to talk about where you are and what you're doing. But we talked before we went on air about Rutgers beating Purdue.
Yeah.
And so, what was your impressions?
First of all, thank you for having me on this show. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and
Thank you.
converse with you. So I appreciate it. We spoke about Rutgers before, and it was a huge game coming, and it was. Because of the time difference, I was asleep, but I woke up to text messages from friends, former teammates, and I also watched the highlights, and it was amazing. Playing a very tough game throughout and finishing with a miracle shot from half court was I felt so proud to be a Rutgers alum. Huge win for Coach Parker and the team, and it was just amazing to see them bounce back from a huge deficit previous game. It's definitely a huge confidence booster. Even before the game, I messaged a couple of the players and told them to believe in themselves, and I certainly believe in them that they could get the win. And
Wow.
They were definitely positive and responsive with what I told them. And after the game, he spoke as well. So it was definitely refreshing to see, and I'm excited. It's been a tough start, but I'm still excited for where they are. Coach Parker was a great coach, and he always puts together a great group of guys on and off the course. So I'm sure, it's still early, so things will definitely turn around.
To me, there's a great message in the Purdue game. Now, by the way, I am a very obsessive compulsive when it comes to Rutgers. That's why I have that Rutgers theme there under the hat. I interview people all over the world. I am what I am. I'm a Rutgers guy, and I love my alma mater, and I am obsessive. I did watch that final shot, maybe 100 times. I kid you not. I just kept watching it and watching it. I watched Harper ask for the ball. I don't know if it was Mog. I'm trying to remember, but it doesn't make it. He asked for the ball after Travion Williams made that shot, and he said, "Give me the ball," and he just dribbled up. Your player, it's almost as if Ron Harper knew he was going to win, right?
Definitely. I mean, he's the guy on the team, and big time players make big time plays. So he was ready for that moment when the opportunity came. He stepped up big time, and it made national headlines. So.
It did. The whole country was talking about that, and it may be one of the highlights of the whole season.
100%. Even people in France were talking about it.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So it was a global thing what Ron Harper did. It was a global. It's funny. His dad, I mentioned to you, right, the row in front of me is always kind of empty. So Rutgers, I guess, uses it for VIPs. And 2 years ago, 2 years ago before the pandemic, Ron Harper's dad used to sit right, and
yes.
and he was the row in front of me. So when his hand was like this, I used to see the NBA ring on his finger.
Yes.
And for the Purdue game, in that seat that Ron Harper Sr. used to sit at was the general manager of the New York Knicks. Scott Perry was sitting there. The energy. So there's a lesson to take away. You're a pro player. The lesson is, if you up here, if you really want, you can.
Definitely. 100% agree.
Yeah. It's all so much is in the head and in the heart that you can, and you know that.
Yes.
Now when you played, you 2 years ago, you guys would have gone to the NCAA, except the pandemic shut it off. For sure, you were 20-11, I think, and you would have absolutely gone. But last year, Rutgers lost to Houston, which eventually went to the Final Four. And that's essentially the same team that you played on, same guys. It was my contention, because I've been watching basketball for 60 years, that team could have and should have. They could have won the whole thing up until maybe Baylor. So Baylor won the whole thing. We were discussing this. So my question to you is, Baylor was made up, 90% of the team were all transfers. So what do you feel about two things? What do you feel about the transfer portal? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it fair? Is it not fair? and then the whole NIL, the name, image, likeness, how in a period of 2 years, the whole face of college basketball has changed. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
That's a really great question. Personally, I like the transfer portal. It gives players opportunities to either explore options that they've earned or, get themselves out of bad situations that they're not happy about. So, it could be a loss to certain programs and it could be difficult at times, but I feel like there's a greater benefit than it is a disadvantage of, the transfer portal. And, a lot of programs and coaches have been very successful with transfers. Eric Musselman, he's been very great. He was at Nevada and now he's at Arkansas. And, Coach Parker has had quite a bit of success with transfer with CJ Geddes, Shaq, myself. So, I'm definitely for the transfer portal. And, if you're able to get a group of experienced guys together, under the right coaching system and development system and program, a lot can be accomplished. And to answer your second question, I certainly am happy about the NIL implementation. It's about time. A lot of players have been, they've made a lot of money for the NCAA itself and programs, and they're deprived of, some type of compensation from it. Yeah. So, I'm very happy that, they can make some type of money or, a sponsorship from the NIL, and it's definitely promotes, it's, how do I say it? It's it makes you feel like you're not slaving almost, because that's kind of how it feels like.
Yeah.
So, hours in the gym, studying, balancing the two, not many people can do that. So it's definitely rewarding, and I'm happy that, it's been made available for student athletes. What are your thoughts on it?
And I agree with you. And somehow, just listening to you, somehow I get the feeling that it's going to raise the level of play.
Yeah.
It will motivate kids even more to get here because there's more rewards.
Yeah.
There's more rewards, forgetting even the whole institution of pro ball, but
Right.
there's really rewards here. So even going back and even into high school, and I just read an article, I started to read it last night. I got sidetracked, but there's kids in high school who are getting money now,
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, wow. Yeah. Well, of course, Rutgers got that quarterback, Gavin Wimsatt, who
Right.
left his senior year and came to Rutgers. Didn't play really, but a couple of times. But it's just a whole new world. It's an exciting world. You're a pro basketball player. When I grew up, listen, I was a basketball player. I don't know if I ever mentioned, there was a small shot at me trying out for the Chicago Bulls back in '76. A small shot, and I would have if I was still out in Chicago. Not that anything would have happened, but when I grew up, for example, I love the NBA. That was my life. But I rooted for the Boston Celtics because they had Bill Russell, who probably was the greatest defensive player who ever lived, and he was up against Wilt Chamberlain, maybe the greatest scorer who ever lived, and they battled. But the funny thing, AKWASI, and I'm going to ask you to comment on this. The funny thing is the guys that played on the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, and I'm not even talking about Bird and Magic. not even then, but even way before that. The guys who played in the Boston Celtics when I was a kid, they stayed together for 10 years. Nobody left.
Wow.
Nobody left. And so the Boston Celtics were the Boston Celtics, and the New York Knicks were the New York Knicks, and the Lakers were the Lakers, but nobody left in the old days. I'm talking about 50s and early 60s. Now, LeBron's been to 3 different teams. So the question is, the old days, what's better, the old days or the modern days, when a team stayed together for a million years, or guys jumping around?
That's
Tough question.
That's definitely a tough question.
Yeah, you don't have to answer it, but no, you don't. But
I mean, it's I guess it's exciting seeing all of these super teams and made up of multiple superstar players. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of makes it not as competitive as it could be. That's kind of my stance in it. But it's exciting for fans and spectators, but
it's just different. I mean, I look at I'm a Nets fan because they were in New Jersey for a whole bunch of years, and I actually used to go see them. My cousin had seats right on the court, where Spike Lee sits. I used to sit right underneath the basket. I only went once or twice a year because it was a lot of money. And the funny thing is, it wasn't that much way back 20 or 25 years ago. The Nets played at the Rack.
Really?
Yeah, nobody knows that. Before they built the Meadowlands, which was 81. So before 1981, for a short period of time, the Nets played at the Rack. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, my point was, it was a team was a team, and now I look at the New Jersey Nets, with Kevin Durant, and I marvel. You know what I marvel? First of all, I marvel at you, because you're leading your team in scoring in 1 year, 17, 18 points a game, and second in rebounding, and how you've turned your whole. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I take a look, Kevin Durant and James Harden. I marvel, just how good.
Yeah.
It's beyond. And Steph Curry, breaking the 3-point.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
He changed the game.
Yeah.
Completely changed the game.
Completely. And I marvel just how good and how the game has moved up and how good it is. Ray Allen he had the record. He played for UConn. I was always a quote UConn fan. I mean, I was a Rutgers fan, but they won a couple of national championships. They had a pretty good coach who Michael played for.
Yep.
When you were at Rutgers, did Coach Peichel talk about Coach Calhoun a lot?
Yes, he definitely. He's pretty much his mentor, and he still talks to him. So
yeah. It's funny. I know Coach Peichel. I would always love to ask him stuff about Coach Calhoun, because he was one of the great coaches of all time. He brought in some of the great players, and he achieved so much at UConn and made UConn a power. And they're back now. They're ranked. They're ranked now. So, moving on. You were born in Ghana.
Yes.
You grew up in England. When and how did you get interested in basketball?
Okay, so I grew up in Ghana. I was born in Ghana. I lived there for 9 years. So I moved to the UK in 2006, along with my brother and my mother. Well, my mom had originally left us, and then we joined my mom. But
I met your mom.
pardon?
Did I meet your mom? Who did
You
I
probably
meet?
did, senior night.
Yes, senior night. I met her,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
talked to her.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started off playing soccer for a local club. And then my older brother, he was pretty tall at a young age. So he was into basketball, and he was we call it secondary school, and that's, I guess, high school in the US. And I was in primary school. So after I left primary school and I went to secondary school, which is high school, I saw my brother playing, and like any younger brother, you look up to your older brother. So, I wanted to be like him and possibly better than him. So I would tag along with him to his training sessions. And from there, I developed an interest in the sport. Basketball. I was pretty small to begin with, and I wasn't that good at basketball. I was very, very bad. But I am a guy that wants to be the best at everything, and I would work until I get there. So I was very relentless in my pursuit of being a great basketball player, a good basketball player. Great.
Okay. So you're playing in England.
Yeah.
How does Coach Peichel find you and bring you to Stony Brook?
Question. That's a really good question, because it's very difficult for players in England to play college basketball. So I was very fortunate. I didn't have any offers to begin with. I think I only had one offer, and it was a Division II school. And this was a school that I was pretty close to signing, to be honest. It was either that or a junior college. But in the league that I played in, it's like a semi-professional league. And there was a former Stonybrook player who played for Coach Peichel in that same league. And whenever we played them, his name's Danny Carter. Whenever we played them, I would have a really good game. And, he liked me. So then my head coach, high school coach, Lloyd Gardner, spoke to him and said, could you put in a good word? He still doesn't have any Division I offers, and, he has the potential. So he said, yeah, of course. He liked me as a person and as a basketball player. So he made the connection with Coach Peichel. So then at first we spoke on the phone, and he just told me he's heard a lot about me from Danny, and he wants to see film. So I sent the film. He saw it. He liked what he saw, but it wasn't enough for him. So he made a deal with me, and he said, he basically said that if my team made it to the finals of the cup, he will fly down personally and watch the game.
Wow.
Yeah. So as soon as he said that, I was on a mission, because, that's an opportunity to play Division I basketball. So we made it to the finals.
Wow.
He showed up, and I had a great game. I had 21 points and 7 rebounds. And, right after that, offered me a scholarship. Boom. I did not hesitate.
Wow. So you're at Stony Brook, and you're there for 3 years. And Coach Peichel had just left, I guess, to come to Rutgers.
Yes.
And I guess the two you got together, and maybe you thought you would transfer to Rutgers. And
yeah, I mean, I actually redshirted at Stony Brook University, and that's what gave me the extra year of eligibility. So I was at Stony Brook for 4 years, but only played 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and while I was at Stony Brook, I didn't really have an idea of the transfer rules or the grad transfer and stuff like that. So I had it in my mind that I was going to finish my career at Stony Brook. Until it got to the point where people were talking about it, and I started to learn more about it. And once the season ended, I wanted to exercise my, options and
Right.
see what I had out there. And, I took 3 visits. Rutgers was the first, and then I went to TCU and SMU. But ultimately, it was Pico that I was most comfortable with and familiar with. And that was important, the familiarity,
Yes.
me, I know him, we kind of know what we're going to get. So, that's important. A lot of guys transfer and kind of are in unfamiliar territory, and it's difficult. So I was very fortunate to be in that position, to be playing a high-level basketball league with a coach that I know and, trust. And he's very loyal. This guy, till this day still messages me or calls me on my birthday.
That's
so
great.
That says a lot about the person he is. So he definitely, he looks after his players on and off the court. And that was something that I was just, sold on right away.
That's my impression of Coach Pico. He's just a kind of a extended family kind of thing.
Yes.
And I always felt that about him, and there was something special, and I always believed that about Rutgers. We could talk for hours on why I think Rutgers in general is a special place, period.
Yeah.
I believe that. I know it. I mean, they made me a teacher 2 years ago when I was 73 years old. I was teaching. It's like, wow, special place, family and stuff. So you're at Rutgers. I want to I have my theory about you,
Right.
and here's my theory about you. In the 2019-2020 season, which was a breakout season for Rutgers, it's my theory, and I would write an essay about this, because you were the senior and you had the experience and you had the maturity. You were the key, I'm saying this, to take that team and to help move them upwards. You brought that maturity and the experience and your ability, and I can see some of the clutch shots that you made. Some of the three, I can almost see them. I don't remember the game, threes, and we won the game. And but it's my feel. I mean, it's a great listen. It was a great season, and nobody could know. You guys would have gone into the NCAA for sure.
Yeah.
And nobody has any clue how far you could have gone. I think you could have gone really far. But anyway, that season, do you have any particular games, any overwhelming memories of that season, things that stand out?
Yeah, I mean, it was a special season, honestly. One of my best. Every game, especially at the rack, was intense. Fans and just the way the rack is set up, or now called is it Jersey Mike's?
Jersey Mike's.
Yeah. So it was always exciting to play in front of Rutgers fans and play on the home court. I think we had the longest win streak at home in the nation also. But biggest memory is probably, winning the game against Seton Hall.
Yes.
The rival game. That was huge.
Huge.
We had everyone just stormed the court. It was exciting. It was a very, very highly anticipated game. And for us, the way we handled the game and dominated from start to finish was just, it gave us a lot of confidence. We believed in ourselves even more from then on, that we could, achieve a lot more things. That was probably one of the best experiences for me. And also getting my first start of the season against Michigan State in conference. So that was big for me. Coach brought me into the office, he wanted me to start games and, be more of a vocal leader and just lead by example. So, it was very refreshing to have that confidence from coach. Yeah, so I think that definitely helped me become a better leader and, help lead the guys.
Which you did lead the guys. Back to the rack, Jersey
Yeah.
Mike's. It really is a special place. Do you guys? I mean, I'm asking an obvious question, but do you guys feed off that energy?
It's special, honestly. It just boosts your energy. Like, I don't get tired when I play the rack just because the fans are just
Wow.
yeah.
It's so interesting
Yeah.
because it is a special place. They don't talk about it, but the way it was designed, it's a trapezoid.
Yes.
And I'm not a physicist, and I don't understand a lot of that stuff, but I know when all that noise goes up, it doesn't have any place to go, so it comes back down.
Exactly.
It's a really noisy place.
Yeah.
Really, they talk about that, and it's not that big. It's only 8,000, and people kind of make fun of the rack that it's not that big. The arenas are 16, 18,000. But the funny thing is, Duke, Cameron Fieldhouse, Duke, the mecca of college basketball, their fieldhouse is only 9,000.
Right.
People think it's huge. It's not. We're pretty much the same size as Duke.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the atmosphere is crazy there too. So
yeah,
it says a lot.
Yep. The coach is retiring. Coach K.
Coach K, yeah.
Is retiring this year, and one of his players, who's an assistant, John Shire, is going to take over.
Wow.
And what's interesting, so Coach K, who's been 40 years, he's a legend. He's retiring, and the assistant's taking over, but they just got one of the top recruits in the country is going to Duke, and I used to think it was because of Coach K, but it's that brand.
Yes.
It's that brand that brings a player there. We could talk about that some other time about brands. I always wondered about this. I've watched a lot of sports movies, and every different sport and every player has his own pre-game ritual. What they do, they're superstitious, this, that. Do you have a pre-game ritual?
Just meditate a little bit, say my prayers.
Okay.
That's it.
Which is a good segue, because when you and I talked last week, you told me I learned some interesting things that I'd never really. But you have your own sports psychologist, and you do a lot of deep meditation. Can you tell me about that and how it helps you? Because you are leading your team in scoring.
Yeah, I mean, there's as a player, you go through a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and sometimes it's good to be able to mitigate that and not get too high and not get too low. So I sought help from a sports psychologist, and the guy is amazing. We started doing a lot of deep exploration, and that's just, start by relaxing the body, meditation. So you do the breathing exercises, and then you go through kind of mindfulness, and you're aware of your body and your surrounding. And from there on, we go through several stages of where you bring out certain critics. So critic is like the self-doubt and the thoughts in your mind that's criticizing you, basically. And we were able to rewire that reaction in the brain, and being able to sit down quietly and telling the critic to calm, and calm down, I don't need you right now. You can talk later or whatever. And it's just a lot of visualization in your head. And I found it very helpful because whenever I feel like I'm missing shots or I don't want to take any more shots, I calm myself down and I get in the zone where I just tell that critic to step back. And then from then I'm able to just elevate. Yeah. So the power of the mind and the power of meditation has been very helpful for me this season. Not only in basketball, it's been helpful day to day whenever I'm not feeling like myself, just the switch. And yeah, I definitely recommend, all the elite athletes I'm pretty sure do see some type of psychologist or sports therapist or whatever. So, I mean, that was an investment that I made for myself and for my career. And, it's been very beneficial to me.
So interesting. It really is. And when I'm listening to you, what jumps into my head, I think it's relevant. And it's not like well known, but when Coach Phil Jackson was coaching the Chicago Bulls, he was kind of a spiritualist.
Yep.
And he did a lot of spiritual stuff with the team, including Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, before the game. And so he was not only a basketball coach, but he would do like spiritual stuff that you're talking about before the game. And obviously it worked because they won a lot of championships. So interesting. And that's what I was thinking about listening to AKWASI. I was thinking, Coach Jackson did this great stuff. And it wasn't really, heavily publicized. And I don't, I was just never, before listening to you, I was never really aware of the players do that. I just thought they went out and interesting. It's so interesting. So, can you talk a little bit about the league that you're in today, your team, SaintChamond? Are you in first place?
Yes, first place.
In first place. And the other thing you said to me, I thought this was really interesting too, is there's a league rule, only 2 Americans per team.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk about the league a little bit.
So we play in the French Pro B League, a very competitive league. You have former NBA players dabble into the league, players that played high level in Europe. It's definitely very athletic and defensive oriented league. We're doing pretty well. We've had a great start to the season. We're currently sitting at 8-1. We're really clicking, playing well together. And this is a league where, anyone can win. The bottom team can easily beat the top team. So every game is like a playoff game. It's, like you mentioned, there are import rules, and each team, I believe, is either 1 or 2 Americans. And then you can have what's called a cotonou or bozeman. And that's, so you have the African players, or you can have players from other parts of Europe. So I currently use my British passport to play in this league. So that also makes you very valuable, having a passport, because there's more jobs available for you. Like for Americans, it's very difficult because it's competitive, since you can only have 2 players, 2 Americans, or 1 or 2 on each team. So playing professionally overseas can be very, challenging when trying to find a fit. I mean, of course, if you're a very elite player, you'd have no issue, but it definitely gets tough sometimes. But yeah, that's kind of the league in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's a long season, isn't it?
Yes, we play roughly 35 games, and the season doesn't end until, playoffs is in May.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It's a long
9 month
season.
yeah.
Wow, it's a long season. Now, there's a good side of all this, and that's the AKWASI YEBOAH gallivanting all over Europe. Yes.
Yes. So I'm in a great location, Lyon, and different countries are driving distances. Milan is a five-hour drive away. Yeah, I've been to Switzerland, which was 2.5 hours drive. And I've also been to, other parts of France, the south, Marseille, Montpellier. So, it's amazing to be able to travel and learn different cultures while, playing basketball. So, it's been amazing.
There's an old saying, do it now while you're young.
Exactly. So I'm
you
trying
are. And I've lived that, do it while you're young, because then there comes a period when you can't.
Right.
So, do you have a favorite NBA player? Couple?
I always, it's a tough question because I try to watch so many different players, but I would say my favorite would have to be LeBron James. It's just, I know everyone, well, the majority of people would say LeBron James, but he's just a special player to me, to be 36 and still be in the league.
By the way, I would usually, I marvel at that. And it's funny, I marvel at LeBron James, but I don't process the fact that he's 36.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Not many people do.
It just seems like he's only been around a couple of years, but not. He's and his talent and it's beyond. It's almost like if you're a high jumper and every year in the Olympics, not every 4 years, somebody jumps a little bit higher. So my question, can somebody come along? It's kind of a silly question, and actually surpass LeBron James?
I mean, it's possible. We've had the likes of Jordan, Magic Johnson, and there's always been a guy that's come by and people have arguably said, Kobe Bryant too, that have arguably said greatest player in the league, NBA, or whatever. So, I mean, I think it's possible for sure. But LeBron definitely a one of a kind athlete.
Correct. It's funny you mentioned Kobe Bryant. Right after he passed, you guys wore T-shirts to a game that had 8 and 24 on it. To honor Kobe.
Who's your favorite player?
He was such a. It's hard to process that he's not here. By the way, going back to, you mentioned Magic. Magic saw Ron Harper Jr.'s shot.
I saw the tweet.
Yeah, he tweeted.
That was
He
amazing.
tweeted. I mean, that's the shot. It's an example of the depth of what Ron Harper did. And how it impacted even culturally. It was such a powerful thing that he did. So I have a really off-topic question for you. You don't have to answer it, or you could. It's a fun question. So here it goes. Again, you don't, but anyway, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
It would probably be my grandfather. I heard a lot of great things about him, and he raised amazing, children who are my uncles and aunties, and, raised my mother. So, and I heard that I had some qualities of my grandfather. So I definitely would have loved to learn from him and pick his brain and, spend a day with him for sure. I think that would be the guy.
It's a great answer. You know why it's a great answer?
Oh, you said apart from family though, didn't you?
Excluding family, but that's kind of different because it's not your immediate family.
Right.
That's a perfect, hey, there's no rules to this.
Right.
But what you said, I probably would have answered the same thing, grandfather, because his picture is right over there. And my grandfather, who I never met, has influenced my life.
Yeah.
Beyond, and I finished writing a second novel, and I talk a lot about fictionally the grandfather, which is really, my grandfather. So that's a great answer you gave. Finally, winding down, last question, plans after basketball, anything concrete?
Yeah, we spoke about, I'm still wanting to finish my master's. I currently have, I believe, 3 classes and an internship until I graduate with my
Great.
master's.
So you're going to come back to Jersey?
That's the plan. Yes, that's the plan.
Would you indulge me? We can do a little game of horse.
Yeah, sure.
I can't do one-on-one anymore, but I can still shoot.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you updated on that.
Perfect.
That's something that I always wanted to help people. I mean, whether it's in the healthcare field or if it's basketball, whatever comes along, but I'm in the health field right now. So hopefully I could do something with my master's. If not, I'm still building my brand, and that's something that we spoke about a lot of times when I was at Rutgers in terms of LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So just trying to figure all of that out and see what
plenty of time to do it. And the smart thing is you are building a brand. And there's nothing in the world like building it. My brand is my Rutgers hat. It's who I am, and we talked about that. And you are. This has been so great. Yeah, spending this time with you, and the fact that we're friends and we stay in touch, and it's fabulous. And yes, I would love you to see you when you're back here. And we're going to stay in touch. So what a perfect way to wrap this up is to wish you a merry and a happy and a healthy and only good things, AKWASI. I get such a kick and charge seeing what you're doing and saying, well, I know you. And I have a million pictures which I sent you from the time you were at Rutgers. So you're a very special person, and I only wish you good things. And whenever you're in the mood to sit and chat, come back and we'll chat some more. So again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all good things to you. And let's get your average up where 25, 30 points again. How's that?
All right, definitely.
All right, AKWASI, again, thank you so much for your time. To be continued.